Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Bars TV. In this episode, we have John Connor, all the way from Ireland. A lot of you will probably know him from Love Hate and the film Cardboard Gangsters. But John has a lot of, should we say, ties to prison, or he's experienced some sort of prison in his life growing up before he got on to doing this film, because we're going to talk about the Black Guelph. And this is a film that John has just directed, and he was one of the main characters in the film. But before I get into it, I do want to say a massive shout out to Dino, also known as Dub Zeno from Ireland, who I've done a podcast with previously. He's put us in touch together, and massive shout out to him for putting us in touch. But John, obviously we want to talk about the film, but could you just introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is John Connors, and I'm from Dublin, in Ireland, but I actually was born in London. The reason why I was born in London is because my father, who was a schizophrenic man, one night when he was engaged to my mother in the late 80s, he hijacked a taxi while being drunk and crashed into a wall and basically broke his hip along with a few other bones. So he got put on armed guard in the hospital. And my mother and him were engaged for about 3 years, as travelers have really long engagements. And she went into the hospital to visit him. And she got him up out of the bed, sneaked him out of the window, and they both got a ferry to England, where I was born. And my two other brothers were born in Dublin then, because I came back to Ireland by the time I was, less than 1 year of age. So that's a little bit of family history there.
So you obviously originally you were born in London. How did that go down with your two brothers? Did you
You never let me forget it, even to this day.
Can't imagine.
But I grew up in a campsite where there were I grew up with 52 first cousins around me, grandparents, aunts, uncles, second cousins, third cousins. The only way I could describe it is like, a Native American reservation with big fields around us, And out of those 52 first cousins, about 20 of us were born in England, and the rest were born in Ireland. So we used to be fighting them and calling the English bastards, and we were going the Irish bastards. But it's funny because the ones who were born in England were ones that were actually genuinely more patriotic to Ireland, because we were insecure about our Irish identity.
So have you always grew up on like traveller sites?
Yeah. So when I came back to London, I was over in King's Cross there. That's where I was born, and then came back to London, moved into a site called Grove Lane, and that's across from basically the most, if you want to call it, notorious council estate in Ireland, Darndale, which is in Coolock. Now I'm still here. I'm just in a different site, right? Like, if I throw a stone 20 meters that way, it's Darndale, the council estate. So that's over there, the original site. So yeah, we moved in there, and then we moved around Coolock a bit. Bell Camp in Coolock. We moved up to Kilmore Flats for a couple of years. My father, God help him, his mental health was kind of getting worse, Me and my brothers and my mother used to visit him in a mental hospital, but, as kids, we didn't know it was a mental hospital. We thought it was like a karate dojo where he was getting his black belt. So everybody would go along with it, all the staff and that. And we used to go there, and he'd be like doing all these moves, and we'd be going, "When are you getting out, Daddy? When are you getting out?" We go, "When are you getting me black belt, son?" And one day we seen there was a Chinese man, and we were just immediately thought that must be his sensei, and the Chinese man, fair play to him, this mentally ill man himself, he went along with it, and he was bowing and all, and we were like, "Whoa," and yeah. But unfortunately, my father, his mental health just keep getting worse, Ricky, and he had a few suicide attempts, and I caught him one day trying to kill himself. My father done prison as well for assault, and mentally he was never any good, never there, And his other brothers, like his two brothers there that have done between them now, probably 50 years in prison, maybe more, and they're both still locked up. One is in England, in Wandsworth. I think
This
it's
is
Wandsworth is in.
your uncle.
Yeah, my uncle, yeah, Connors. And then my other uncle is in Mountjoy. Again, 50 odd years between them in prison. And then even my grandfather, my grandfather, he did about 13 years, I think, in prison as well, until his mother-in-law, my grandmother's mother, made him promise after his last sentence to never commit a crime again. And then I had it all around me, so people all around me. So my father, he did a couple of years for assault, and then he did a bit of time then for that hijacking as well, and then mental hospitals and stuff. And then, I caught him trying to kill himself one day. I kind of didn't understand what was happening. And, he used to take on different, like, voices and characters. He used to think he was like, well, one day he'd be like, he'd think he was Terminator. He'd be like, I'll be back. And we thought it was funny, but he actually thought he wasn't. Or Van Damme, or Steven Seagal, or he used to think he was this IRA fella called Dominic McClinchy. And he used to put on a nerdy accent, where the fuck are you? And all that kind of stuff. And I didn't know who he was till years later. I googled who he was. He was a notorious IRA. So when that kind of happened that last time in the flat in Kilmore, in Coolock there, my mother, he got thrown to the hospital, so my mother moved back into the campsite because we were there in that flat for about 2 years, previously all in different campsites before that. And, that flat was really tough because we went from like, a big, as I said, like a reservation with all our cousins around us up to like flat, a tiny little flat with all these settled kids who were trying to bully us all the time. And we were just constantly fighting. So it was tough to begin with. So when my mother said we're moving back to the camp, it was music to our ears. We were delighted with that, Ricky. So we went back, and my father again got out and he got sick again, and then he killed himself. And I suppose from that point on, that made a large impact on myself and my brother Joe, who was a year younger than me. My brother Patrick is six and a half years younger.
How old were you at the time?
I was 8. Yeah, my brother Joe was 7. My little brother Packy was El Paco. He called him on TikTok. He's a great storyteller, BKB fighter as well. He was 18. He was 18 months. So I suppose how to describe it. I mean, growing up as a traveler on campsites without a father is a very big deal, because you're seen as someone who doesn't have a father, to teach them how to be a man. So then you're seen as, sort of like free game, like you can kind of get away with beating them up, doing whatever, like we got bullied a lot by other kids and kids older than us, and even adults, and things they would say, like they say, oh, I'd never let them marry my daughter because they never know how to earn a living and things like that, So what that did was it kind of set me in a fit of rage. And when I was 12, I joined boxing. And within 6 months, I won a Dublin title, a County Leagues Dublin title as well, a Leinster title, the Profits, and then an All-Ireland title. And then the next year, I won the same again, but I went to the Four Nations, which is England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales fighting each other. And I got to the final, I got beaten by a Welshman. I lost like 9 kilos the week of it, too much weight. And then the year after, I won them all again, and then went to the Four Nations again. At this time, I was fighting an English fella from East London, and he said to me before I fought, "I'm gonna knock you out, you paddy cunt." I said, "Oh, are you?" So the Irish were very humble. I know people see Conor McGregor and they think, but it's not really. Most Irish people are humble, and most Irish people don't like people who are not humble. So I went and fought him, and I beat him, and I broke a few of his ribs, and second round knockout. And I came home, and this flag behind me is the flag that I wore, that I wrapped around me, and when I was 16, winning that title. I went home, and I showed my brothers the DVD, and how I was fighting for Ireland with the flag wrapped around me, and Around Naveen, our national anthem on, and he's in second place. Scottish and Wales is in third place. And my brother said you should have been fighting for a GB. So they never let it down. And then by that time, Ricky, I suppose what happened to me was my mother. She had gotten by the time I was 16, she had gotten a fiance, and actually an English fella of Irish heritage. Um, and we moved in together out of the camp because I think my mother felt a bit uncomfortable in the camp living with him, and he wanted a house. So we moved out of the camp into the council estate of Darndale, which was literally just a stone away, a stone throw. It was there, and he was a decent enough fella in that. And I ended up kind of going down a bad road. I was in a FOSS course, which is like, an ANCO. I don't know if you have them in England, like a youth centre kind of thing, where you get paid like 50 quid a week to do random stuff or whatever. I was doing metal work and I hated it. And actually in there was my first brush with acting. A couple of acting teachers came in one day, and I volunteered to do it because I hated the metal work. And I did 6 weeks with them. I was really liked it and thought I had a bit of a knack for it. And then one day, my tutor, who was my regular tutor, was jealous of me doing the acting class, like so bizarre. And he tried to sabotage the whole thing from me doing it. I ended up breaking a few doors and smashing my hand off the glass. And I never went back. And then I went onto the streets then in Darndale, because I suppose if you were like an older sort of gangster and you looked at me at 16, I was like, the height I am now, 5'11", 6 foot. I was like 90 kilos of solid muscle, 3-time Irish boxing champion, 4 Asian gold medalist, and I had a brain on me. I was ideal, to be on the street. And again, I was only 16, so I was naive. So I was on the street doing things and moving things and getting into a lot of street fights. So like, what I call a street fight a dirty go more. I got into bare knuckle fights and stuff. Like, for instance, I avenged like this bully who bullied me when I was a kid. I fought him when I was 15 on the streets, officially on refereed and that, and I knocked him out in 42 seconds, broke his jaw. He was 25, I was 15. He was 24, I think. I was 15, and then I had a few other bare knuckle fights with Travis and that as well. Never lost, and I had these street fights then, which we call dirty goes. Travis, which is just anything goes, and that happened mostly around everything, like no rules, like more vicious than MMA, So I'd fight around Darndale and Coolock and with settled lads and sometimes travellers and sometimes weapons and sometimes big gangs, like there was one time where we went to a wedding. And it always happens at a wedding with travellers. So we're doing nothing for stereotypes there. But so we went to a wedding, a cousin wedding of mine, and my cousin got attacked at it by a big group of kind of travellers who were very well known. So me and my brother grabbed him and took him out into the car park. But by the time we did, he was exhausted and he threw himself on the ground. And so we looked around, we looked over and we looked at the door. And suddenly we seen about 20 fellas coming out to give it to us, So I just ran at them. And I ran at the kind of main fella and I get my big fucking proper windmill right hook and just knocked them out. And they all start spreading away then and going to different people. So they went to my brother Joe, went to Patrick, and went my brother, my cousin as well, Patrick, and me. And so they were giving it all, 5 or 6 of them each on each one of us, and my brother fought back and he gave a good go. My other cousin, he was really still tired from the ground, so he fell on the ground and took a bad beat. And then me, they were sticking Budweiser bottles in my head, stabbing me in the head. And I was like 23 stone at this time, very heavy, but at the same time, very strong. And he couldn't knock me down. It was like a scene out of Raging Bull. And I was like, you're never going to knock me down. But there was like, my eyes were out like here. But I did a lot of damage to him, a lot, to the point where he actually backed away in the end. And then police and ambulance came and all that stuff. we went up to the room and just drank for the rest of the night, put some ice on her eyes, and it was good crack actually. And then we ended up having bare knuckle fights from that. 6 months later, we all got training, and that happened. So yeah, like I mean, that was a kind of mad time from like 15, 16 to up to 19. And then I ended up getting in a really kind of bad depression, and my poor mother was very worried about me. And one morning I woke up on Mother's Day morning, and there was blood all over my mother's bed, in Darndale in the house. And I thought, who did this? What's going on? Where is she? And I called her, and I said, Mommy. We used to call our mothers Mommy. I said, Mommy. I said, where are you? What's going on with this blood? And I was trying to give her like my Mother's Day gift. And turns out that, her fiance threw her down the stairs of a pub, dragged her across the car park, threw her head in a puddle. And when she came down, she was unrecognizable. Her face, her head, it was really bad. So I called your man and I said, look, you're going to have to go back here and face the music. He said, or else. And he was like, no, you're not coming back, man. No, I'm in the pub and blah, blah, blah. And I said, all right, then. So the next bit I just can't say because it's incriminating. But anyway, I did something. I did something to make sure that he came back. And he was worried. He was worried about more than himself, I'd say. Now, to put it into context, I was 16 or 17, so I'm an actor and a filmmaker now, but back then I was a mad cunt. And it was that age, full of trauma, didn't know what was going on. So you do mad impulsive things. So he ended up coming back, and then I beat him with a baseball bat, and a steel baseball bat, very bad. And he died a few times, came back to life, and in the ICU in Beaumont Hospital. He was there for I believe he was there for 6 months or something. He got a lot of his body just redone through titanium in his face, and all his bone structure was all messed up. And it was a weird one because I had gotten to really like to do, and I had to do that. I had to do it for my mother because my mother protected us, against a lot of stuff, and reared us on her own hard, down a mad lane of traverse sites, with no father, and gave us all the love in the world and made sure that, we never starved, we never were hungry, and, did our best for us, the best mother you could have asked for. So the worst thing you could do to me is hurt my mother. So I inflicted as much pain and damage on him. Now, the fun thing is, for years, I regretted not making sure that I killed him, Now I'm delighted. Now I'm delighted I didn't.
Obviously,
because I would have done a lot of time,
Obviously, when you've grown up and you've realised back then, I can understand it. When you're that age, you just want to inflict pain on people, especially when you've been through what you've been through.
Yeah.
But looking back, if you had killed him, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing now. Your life would be ruined, wouldn't it? You'd be on. If you weren't
Absolutely not.
Weren't still in prison, you'd be out on life license, and it's no life, is it?
It's no life, man, and it's like I would have been just continuing the cycle, man, of everybody in my family, all the men in my family, in the Connor side, even in the Ward side, my mother's side, some of them did prison. My grandfather did 3 years. Paddy Ward, he did 3 years in Crumlin prison in the 50s. A legendary man, him, and he was a real proper man, a big man with shovel hands, and he lived a long life for a traveller, especially. He lived to 82. His 5-year anniversary was yesterday, and he became like a father to me and kept me out of as much trouble as possible, and advised me when in that bare knuckle road where I was, your man I was fighting. He was the one to give me the thumbs up, saying, "Yeah, you can fight her," because I kind of had to ask him permission, So I had good father figures around me, But as I said, when I got to that point, then my mother found out kind of some of the stuff I was doing and messing about with when I was about 19. And I had a few cousins who were murdered, and then a few friends who were murdered, and then a few friends who overdosed. So there was all that. A lot of that happened within 1 year. And I just looked around what I was doing. I was going, this is going to be me next. And my mother found out some of what I was doing, and she cried and begged me to stop. And so from that point on, Ricky, I stopped. I just said, this is it now. I think I might have been 18, 19, close enough. So, but for the next year and a half, I was like broke with no money and depressed, and I gained like 8 stone weight. And all I did was watch films. And I watched The Sopranos on repeat, drinking bottles of wine, eating lasagna up in my room, just collecting my social welfare, and then buying like DVD box sets and going to the cinema with that. That's it. Not leaving my room for any other reason. And then I one day I just basically decided to kill myself. I said, this is it. And my brother Joe knocked on the door. The second I went, I'm going to kill myself in my mind, my brother Joe knocked on the door, which I thought was really weird, you know. It reminded me of the time when I was a kid in the campsite and my father was calling me. And he kept calling me and calling me. And I was like, Daddy, Daddy, where are you? I couldn't see him. So I went to my mother, and my mother called us in for dinner. And I said, Mother, I said, well, Mommy, I said, Daddy's looking for us. Well, where is he? He's calling me all day. She said, Nah, son, he's not. She knew he was in the mental hospital, or he was supposed to be. And actually, about an hour later, we're eating our dinner, and the police come in on guard at Síochána and let us know that my father had killed himself, you know, and he'd been dead a couple of days. So you tell me what that is. I don't know. So when I decided to kill myself, my brother Joe knocked on the door in that moment, which was freaky. And he said, Are you going to kill yourself? I went, What? And I wouldn't let him know because I didn't want to frighten him, but I also was afraid to talk about it and ashamed.
Yeah.
But I gave him an indication that I was, so he would not let go. And basically, we came to the conclusion that I had to do something different. And the boxing was gone in the past at that point, and I hadn't been fit enough, and I let it all go, and injuries, injuries, injuries. And he said, Why don't you try acting? And then I remembered that acting class I did when I was 16, that course, acting course. So I said, Fuck it, I'll give it a go. So he said, Look, Google acting classes Dublin. And the Abbey School came up on Abbey Street. And I said, Look, I want to do some acting classes, blah, blah, blah. The teacher was like, Look, John, have you ever acted before? And I was like, Nah, not really. Did an acting course when I was 16. And she's like, Well, John, you're probably best off doing the adult for fun class. She's an American woman, hoping not butchering her accent. But I said, Look, I don't want to do an adult for fun class. That sounds shit to me. I need to do something deep, basically. And she said, Look, there's an advanced scene study course you could do, and blah, blah. I said, Yeah, sign me up. So I think it was like €290. I had about €100 from my social welfare payment, the dole. And then I borrowed the rest off my brother and my uncle. And then I got the last €5 off my mother to get the bus into town. And when I got there, I came into a class, where we all got around in a circle. And basically, everybody in the room were like middle upper class people. And I was not middle upper class, I was a traveller from Darndale or Dublins. So I felt really uncomfortable and insecure and inferior, to be honest, because all the actors were talking about their backgrounds and what they did in acting school. And I was like, what? So they set up an improvisational game. And I decided in my head to leave the class the first kind of opportunity where no one would suss me. So they set up this improvisational game between actors. And there were two characters in it. One was a shopkeeper and one was a customer. And the customer would walk outside the acting class and walk in and really decide what kind of dynamics it is, what kind of shop it is. So this improvisation began where there was this Brazilian black man who was the shopkeeper and this really upper class Dublin guy from the posh side of town. And he walked in, and he was the customer, and he was like, I'd like to buy some vanilla protein and stuff. Because he was like, well in shape, and he was like trying to brag in front of the girls. And then he ended up, from me, being very patronizing to the black fella and being, I think, racist. So, from all the stuff that happened to me as a kid, like Ricky, people don't really realize what Travis goes through, especially in Ireland. Like, we were segregated as kids, put in an all travel class, not allowed to mix with settled kids. Our teachers called us knacker and pikey. every day to and from school, knacker, pikey, having to fight settle kids 7 days a week, our whole lives being made feel inferior. So I wouldn't allow this. So what happened was the improvisation ended, and the Dublin upper class guy became the shopkeeper, and they were looking for someone to become the customer. So I volunteered, and I walked outside the class, and you're meant to get ready and put on your actor face and all that bollocks.
Yeah.
And I wanted to leave and run down the stairs and run away and avoid it all, but I was too angry. So I busted through the door, and I made the whole scenario a bank. So I robbed the bank, and I slapped the actor in the face. I threw him down to the ground. I took off his shoes, his socks, and I was halfway taking off his tracksuit bottoms when the teacher came in and said, John, please stop. So I said, oh shit. So I took off running Ricky out the door, down one stairs, down another stairs, down the other stairs, with the teacher running after me, John, come back. She was a real Shakespearean trained teacher, and was always trying to break me in for theatre and project your voice and all this. And I was like, but that's not real, because I didn't grow up watching theatre. It's a real middle and upper class thing. So anyway, I'm running down Abbey Street. The teacher's running after me. Come back, John, come back. And I turned around and I said, don't call the police. And she said, I'm not. She said, but listen, you're fucking crazy. And I said, oh, right. And she said, but I like it. I said, oh, you do? She said, look, let's come back up. Let's see what you can do. You can play anger and rage like I've never seen any actor. But let's see if you can do other stuff. And I said, okay. So I went up, and everybody gave me a big clap. I think they're all in fear, And I Googled acting classes Dublin that night. As I was walking down Abbey Street, people were looking at me randomly, and it's because my face was doing a mad smile like this, and I hadn't smiled in about 18 months. And I Googled acting classes Dublin that night, and I said, how do you become a better actor? And I was like, learn your lines, right? So they gave me like this 10-page script that I had 12 weeks to learn, and I had to have it learned by the end of the 12 weeks to do on stage with a scene partner. And I had it learned the next morning because I was so obsessed with it, I have that obsessive personality that I had that with boxing. And when I walked in back home into my house in Darndale, my mother's back was facing me, but my mother had a sixth sense, and she said, Jono, something's different. And she turned around, saw me smiling, said, what are you doing? I said, I did an acting class, but don't tell anybody, because I was ashamed, and all the travellers finding out I'm in an acting class. So, and then we found out I was acting, and they all accused me of being gay because I was acting. So, that got me up into that love of acting and really discovering acting by, I suppose I'm 34 now. That's a little slice of my life that got me up to like 20 years old.
That there is the story of adversity and how you've turned it around, and how if you're determined to do something to make something better of your life, that right there is living proof of it, especially what you're doing now.
Yeah, well, Ricky, I had a boxing trainer, I have still really, named Joe Russell. There's Joe Russell, and they have a 50-year anniversary of Darndale Boxing next year. 50 years. Can you imagine how many kids they have saved? How many lives they have saved? And the head trainer, Joe Russell, or we call him Bartler, he's from Sheriff Street in town. Sheriff Street it's like Darndale, but it's in town, And he came from there, so he's rough. And a boxer as well. And Mickey in Rocky.
Oh, all right, there.
Yeah, well, Mickey in Rocky looks soft compared to Joe. Right. Trust me, My first night in Darndale Boxing Club, I went up at 12 years of age, and he came over to me and he said to me and my two friends, this is your first night and your last night. You can get your coat and get the fuck out of here when you're finished training. Now, this is like, I was only 12, and my two friends were younger. Like, I'll tell you. So I tried so hard that night so he wouldn't kick me out. And he didn't kick me out. And we became really close, And he was like a father figure to me. And then there was Joe Lawler, who he trained, who went to the Olympics for Ireland and Darndale, who was a trainer as well. Jerry Hanlon, old school trainer as well. Like Jerry and Joe are both in their 70s now. Joe Lawler is nearly 60. You know, there was other trainers like Graham Stewart and Robert Quigley, and like they created so many Irish champions. But when I came around, the golden years of Darndale Boxing Club were gone. All their champions were gone. And when I was the first champion in 5 years, so when I won, everybody else started winning again. And then we actually ended up being the best era in Darndale Boxing Club history. And it was down to them being such great trainers, but also the club was all travellers. And travellers are taught to fight from a young age anyway, and taught to never back down. So, like, we won best club in Leinster 7 years in a row, best club in Dublin 10 years in a row, best club in Ireland 3 years. And then always, like, in the top three clubs in Ireland for like 15 years. So I had a lot of father figures, and and people like that. Joe Russell, Bartler. I was only having pints with him 2 nights ago. Had a few Guinnesses with him in his local pub, and he saved a lot of people. And when I was going off the rails when I was 16, 17, he'd always pull me back in, and the way he was boxing, get in the box, get in, have a fight. You have a lot more left in you. And he always believed I underachieved, that I should have done way more in boxing. But it is what it is. So, he was without people like that in my life as well, it takes a lot of things along the way, and a lot of people and support. And
Well,
Joe Russell for sure.
That's what I was going to say, because obviously growing up, I've grew up like similar sort of backgrounds, but obviously on council estates, living up in rough areas, facing adversity. And the way we expressed ourselves as well was through violence, but we were using drink and drugs from the age of 11. And I did try boxing a couple of times. Some people tried to push us into it, but never really got into it, because our mindset, we were just going out Friday night, Saturday night, drinking bottles of cider, smoking weed. But then that became an everyday occurrence. And then when you haven't got that sort of figure telling you what not to do, gone down the right path, obviously I went down the other path, violence, ended up in prison at a young age. Around the similar age when you were getting into acting, I was getting into prison and stuff. So it just goes to show, if you have got someone to get a hold of you and push it down the right path, things can turn out different.
Yeah, and around that age is a vital age for men and boys, because we're becoming men, And the thing is, we kind of need a man to teach us how to be a man, or we do,
Yeah.
not having father figures or father ideally or father figures. It's detrimental, man. I'm lucky because I grew up on a side with uncles and my father and then my boxing trainers, and I nearly went down those places anyway. I did go down a lot of those places, but I nearly went to prison and should have went to prison. And I've been arrested and locked up and jailed like in that way loads of times or whatever, but not prison. But
So when you
very, very, very lucky.
so when you got
So
into
yeah, so
sorry,
what?
so when you got into boxing, that obviously at the age of 12, you wouldn't have been drinking or using drugs at that time, were you?
No, no,
No.
no. I didn't. I only really started. I started drinking. No, I won't lie. When I did my confirmation when I was like 12, we made that, with confirmation, with Catholics, you have to do that confirmation, and you do a vow,
Yeah.
to not drink until you're 18 or whatever. I drank that fucking day, robbed a load of cider off my friend's uncle. But then my mother found out, and that was it. That never happened again. But so I never really drank until late teens. I started drinking. You know what I mean? I never heavily drank. And yeah. And then like I've had me battles with drinking stuff since, up and down, like most mad cunts, and especially most Irish mad cunts as well. So yeah, but yeah, no. Luckily, I had a lot of kind of stuff that was pulling me away between a love of my mother and good father figures, and then my love of boxing, and then it's all translated into my love of acting and filmmaking.
So what was your first acting part then? After you'd done your classes,
So
what was your first?
yeah, so I tell you what it was actually. Um, I auditioned for this film, King of the Travellers. So it's a traveller film about bare knuckle fighting. It's on YouTube if anybody wants to watch it for free. I don't give a fuck. But so I auditioned for that. And I got a small part. And then I did a few months rehearsals, and then they sacked the lead actor, who was a good friend of mine, and he actually wanted me to get the part because he saw the rehearsals and how kind of good I was already at a level. And I got that part. And before I got that part, before I did that part, I was rehearsing for it, but I didn't shoot it yet. I was up in Darndale boxing up, and I was hitting the bands one day and blah blah blah. And this casting director walked in looking for tough-looking guys who would do this show, Love Hate. Now, for anybody who doesn't know Love Hate, it's actually, I'm sure it's on Channel 4 or 5 at the moment now
It's
in
on
England.
I think I was watching about 2 years ago. I watched the last season, maybe last year or something. But it's one of the best series I've actually seen, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it kind of like it became a cultural phenomenon, Ricky, in Ireland. Like, I mean, to put it into context, any country where a TV show gets 15% of the audience share, that is considered a massive hit, and you'll keep going forever as long as you want, as many seasons as you want to make. In Ireland, Love Hate was 65% of the audience share, right? I used to joke and say, look, if you just want the kids in Darndale to stop hanging around the corner selling drugs, just play Love Hate on repeat. Because you'd walk around Darndale on a Sunday night at 9 o'clock and it was like a ghost town. Because obviously I didn't watch the show, I was in it, you know. But so anyway, this woman looked for tough looking guys and blah, 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 blah. And I said, yeah, I said, I've done acting classes now for a year. And she said, there's only extra roles. I said, I'm not interested. She said, there's one role with a few lines, but if you come that day, I can't guarantee them. It'll be up to the director. So lo and behold, I land here and the director comes over to me and I hit it off with him. He lived around King's Cross and the Caledonian Road where my family lives. And he used to drink in a pub with a load of travellers in the late 80s, more than likely with my father. So it was like that straight away. David Caffrey. He went on to direct Peaky Blinders and stuff and a few seasons of that. And so he said, there's a few lines there. Do you want them? I said, fucking too right, I do. And I looked at the lines and I went, he wouldn't say that. You know, I didn't realize I was being very cheeky, you know. And he was like, what? I said, look, man, I'm a traveller from Darndale, you know, who's been involved in stuff. He's not going to say that. He's going to say this. And he said, great, go and say that. So I said that, did that little scene, and with Nidge, the lead character. Anyway, that happened. Then I did King of the Travellers. I was the lead role in that year. Then I did a film called Stalker a few months later that I co-wrote with the director of King of the Travellers. And both Stalker and King of the Travellers premiered together in 2012 in the Galway Film Festival. And the Love Hate writer came up to me after one of the screenings saying, I'm the Love Hate writer, and I remember you changed my lines that time, and blah, blah, blah. I hadn't met the writer. And he said, would you change my lines that I wrote for that character? And I said, yeah. He said, oh, you haunted me by that. He said, I lost sleep over that, he said, because the lines you improvised were so good. I said, oh, thanks. He said, do you want to come back to Love Hate? We'll make your character a big character. And I said, yeah. So I came back to Love Hate and made a good impact and brought a travel character in there. There's obviously there's travellers that are involved in that world as well.
I think the first bit in there, I remember you were making the pipe bomb for Nidge, weren't you, in the garage?
Yeah, he was a pipe bomb maker, and he was based on a traveller that I knew very well, let's just say. Could be family, could not be. I'm not saying, but anyway. So anyway, did that, great fun, and then I came back the year after in a really big part in it, which just kind of went insane. And by now, like 1.5 million people are watching the week in a country of 5 million population, you know. So anyway, went crazy then, went literally crazy. Fame went crazy. You know, I remember I went to a UB40 gig and people harassed me and like tore my clothes off and scratching me and like they had to move me out of my seat, put me in the VIP. The VIP artist did it to me. Ali Campbell was looking at me like, get in my way. I had to get put up into a boot. I was like, what the fuck is happening? So like you become really fucking famous in Ireland. And it's just like a mad.
How did you feel and how did you react to that then? Going from where you were on the traveller site and then getting all this fame?
The first week was exciting, you know, and then after that I was like, fuck off, you cunts, leave me alone. You know what I mean? I was like, what? You know what I mean? And then I was like, where the fuck were you when I was struggling? You know? But anyway, I had it, needless to say, I had a chip on my shoulder, which I hope that I've gotten rid of. But yeah, it definitely fucked up my brain for a while, you know? But I wanted to do a gangster film, Ricky, that was kind of semi-inspired by my life growing up in Darndale, and also done on a street level, unlike Love Hate. So I wrote a film called Cardboard Gangsters, which is on. It's I think
I've
it's on
seen
Netflix still. It was on Netflix years. I'm not sure if it could be on Netflix still. It's on YouTube for me again. Yeah, again, watch
that.
it.
That was the first film I've seen with you in, was Cardboard Gangsters.
Yeah. So I did that.
Others or something.
That was interesting. One of the actors was kind of from an upper class background. One of the actors in my gang, so he wanted to go method. So he said, "Look," I said, "Look, let's live in my house then, with my mother's house, because my mother had moved into the camp." And I said, "Okay." All the neighbours when we moved in were like hated us because we were travellers. So what I did was, when we did Carver Gangsters, I said, "This is revenge time." I rang my cousin Bean. And I said, "Bean," I said, "that big 5-amp speaker you have, can I get into that?" He said, "Yeah, Chad, no problem." So I got that, and I had that speaker on for about 7 weeks straight, full 24 hours a day, just annoying all the neighbours, drinking blackguard, reading lines, going to nightclubs, meeting all the actors, pulling loads of women back to the house parties, just having the time of our lives while becoming the characters, and all that. I didn't have that. I did it all, but the other actors wanted it. So we did that. And yeah, that was a big hit, man. That was rejected by the Irish Film Board. They wouldn't fund it. No one would fund it. And it won Manchester Film Festival. It won 7 awards. And I said, the place we have a chance of set is Britain. I said, because they love real shit, like realist, social realist filmmaking. I said, but really up north in Britain. So I said, send it to Manchester. And it went to Manchester. And I said, it's going to do well. But I didn't know I was going to fucking win 7 awards, But I just thought we'd do well out of it. We were in the cocktail bar swallowing. What?
Did you direct that film as well?
No, I just wrote and I was the lead actor. Right. So we were in the cocktail bar, me and all the crew and actors and the director and all. And we were doing 2-for-1 cocktails when our cameraman came over to me and he said, "Look, the awards are on now, and the Manchester Awards, they're on now." And we were like, it was a great premiere. We'll do well out of it. I said, "We're not going to win awards." He's like, "John, get the fuck over. We could fucking win." And I said, "Okay." So we walked in the door of the awards, and they were in the middle of the awards. And as I walked in, they were going, "And best actor goes to John Connors." I was like, "What?" I was fucking steaming. So I went up, thanks, Manchester. So then I go to sit down again, and then the next one is, and best film goes to Cardboard Gangsters. I was like, what? Back down again. And then back down again, and best overall film goes to Cardboard Gangsters, because they were all best drama, this and that. I said, what? And another few awards and whatever. And then we went to Newport Beach Film Festival. And that was fun, man, in Newport Beach in California, beside LA. It was a real upper class American audience, but they loved it. And I was steaming drunk one night walking through this party. It was free drinking. I was drinking these whiskeys, and I walked into the back smoking area, and there was this Latino girl and like a Asian girl, they called them, but Americans. Yeah. And they were talking to these 2 Orange County fellas from Orange County who were like big muscular fellas. And they were Donald Trump supporters. He's big support from upper class people in Orange County, And whether you like Trump or not, I don't really give a fuck. It's American politics. But they were basically arguing over Donald Trump, and this was 2000 and what was it, 16 maybe, 17 maybe, 16 maybe. And but they were getting really aggressive with the girls. And so I stepped in, being trying to be a save the day, and I said, "Listen, lads," I said, one thing I liked about Trump for sure is that he was anti-war. I said, but last night he bombed Syria, I said, so he's just like another fucking politician. And the whole crowd was like, whoa, right. And he said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Ireland." He said, "Fuck you and fuck Ireland," right? "Fuck you and fuck Ireland." And I said, "Fuck Ireland?" Now, if you haven't noticed yet, I have an Irish flag behind me. I'm a proud Irishman. So I said, go and fuck you and fuck America and everybody in it. I was like, whoa. And I was sitting down at this point in the smoking area, just like smoking with Moundy. And he hit me a punch right in the jaw. Right? So I looked up to my friend, Zeb Moore from Limerick. I said to my friend, I said, Zeb, did he just fucking hit me? I was that numb over, I was so drunk, you know? And he said, yeah. So I jumped up. I said, anybody or everybody who gets in the way will die. Get out of my way. And I parted everybody like the Red Sea, like Moses parting the Red Sea in the Bible. And they all moved. And I said, come here. So he walked into me and I went over him like bang, knocked him out unconscious. And it was pandemonium, all these posh upper class Americans. Oh my God, the Irish guy, the bare knuckle guy, he just knocked out everyone. And then the other fella came over and he got on my back and he got me in a headlock. I said, oh, fuck, this is some MMA guy. He said, I am fucked. I was thinking to myself. All I had was my head, you know? So I went bang, bang, third one, bang, and he fell to the ground. And the next bit, I probably overdid it, but I was drunk. So there was like this 8 foot. I don't know how I got away with this. I'll probably never get to America if this story gets out. There was like this 8 foot heater, you know, that was heating up everything. And I threw the heater down on top of the two of them and I burned the legs off them, right? And it was, and these two Mexican security guards came in of the hotel. And they come over to me and I was like, I started thinking really quick. I said, there are two Donald Trump supporters. They want all Mexicans out and they wanted to build a wall. I was just taking up for the girls. And they went, what? Oh. And then they took the two guys out and got one of them arrested and one of them went on an ambulance. But anyway, Donald Trump is probably the only one who didn't start, like he was the only American president in 72 years that never started a new war, you know. But at the end of the day, I was just trying to save a few girls and maybe get lucky that night, you know. And I did with somebody else. But
just as well you didn't get nicked over there.
Oh, bro, I was thinking if I got locked up over here, I got put into these gangs, and I'm all by myself. Fair enough, I'll knock a few motherfuckers out. But I mean, that's it then. Once they get on top of you, you're fucked.
So obviously, but after that cardboard gangsters and that, did it ever feel like the fame had died down, or did it carry on? Did you get into more acting?
So what happened was everybody knew me from Love Hate as Paddy the Pipe Bomber, but then Carver Gangsters are got known as Jay then, especially with younger kids. And that's people who are kind of in their 30s and 40s would know me Carver Gangsters for Love Hate. Younger than that is really Carver Gangsters because I went on Netflix. And then there's certain people who kind of like me for a lot of the documentaries I did, the traveler documentaries and stuff, and the Native American stuff and African American documentaries I made in America. So there are different kind of people, and then there's a group of people who know me for the theatre I've done and my one-man show that I toured all around the world. So it's weird. It's different, kind of comes from different places. So yeah, I suppose after Carver Gangsters, I kept doing loads of stuff and I've been acting ever since and doing loads of different kinds of stuff. And then I did a Jim Sheridan film. That was on my bucket list because Jim Sheridan is the greatest ever Irish filmmaker. He had 6 Oscar nominations. You know, he did My Left Foot, In the Name of the Father, The Field, Get Rich or Die Trying, In America. You know, he did all those films. So I did a little part in his, and that was a bucket list one for me. And I just finished another Jim Sheridan film where I played the lead, which is a big, big thing for me, you know. And that'll be coming out this year. And I'm playing the lead in another film that's called Crazy Love, set in a mental hospital, where I play a bipolar patient who falls in love with a schizophrenic girl. So needless to say, my whole life preparation is helping me a lot for these roles, you know. So
are you
back in 2020.
Are you constantly
do
you get roles all the time? As soon as you finish one, you go into another one?
Yeah, more or less. If I want to, it really depends, man. Because, you know, I set up a production company called Cluster Fox Films with my business partner, Tiernan Williams. Now, he's a cognitive scientist, an integrative, a cognitive scientist, an integrative psychologist, a psychologist, and has a business degree, and grew up in Ballymun, I don't know if you know Ballymun. Have you ever heard of Ballymun?
Heard of it, I. Is that
So
like
Ballymun is next to Coolock and Ballymun Flats were iconic. And like that was the heroin epicenter of Ireland. So he grew up in an extremely rough spot, same as Darndale, and went through life and did all those things and, amazing academic skills and then brilliant artist. So me and him set up a company together. We start making short films. I start directing and we'd write them together and he'd produce and edit. And then in 2020, I was in a really dark place, man. I always had this prophecy that I was going to die by the time I was 30, and I was 30 in 2020. And it's because my father died at 30, so it's this inbuilt fear. And I ended up getting involved in a big controversy, a political thing, and I got cancelled again because I was cancelled in 2017 or 18 over being pro-life in the abortion referendum, and I lost a lot of movies and I lost a lot of speaking gigs, and then I get cancelled again, and I was in a dark place in 2020 and COVID and all that stuff. And Tiernan and Jimmy Smallhorn, my good friend, Jimmy Smallhorn had the idea to get me to make that film that me and Tiernan had written that had been turned down by all the institutions, which turned out to be the Black Guelph. And Jimmy knew that it would sort of save me. So between them, they plotted against me to get me directed to drag me out of a hole. And I ended up going into a deeper hole doing it because in making the film, I was confronting my own trauma and my own family history. So the film is The Black Guelph, and it's about intergenerational trauma that came from clerical abuse of the Catholic Church and how it really messed up Ireland. Like so many gangsters out there, so many addicts out there. Are gangsters or addicts in Ireland because they either went through the industrial school system, which was a system that you got taken in and the Catholic Church Christian brothers looked after you, and you could be there for many years, or their mothers or fathers went there. There was the mother and baby homes and the Magdalene laundries. Basically, you were a slave for the church from a kid till you're 18, you're a slave. And with the Magdalene laundries, you'd be a slave for the rest of your life. So women who were considered dirty or had sex could end up being in this place till they're 70 for their whole life. So these are the crazy mechanisms that were created by the Catholic Church. So the film is about that. And so many gangsters and addicts in Dublin and Ireland are because they come from that, or the mothers and fathers come from that, and there's this generational cycle and there's this abuse and whatnot. So I wanted to make a film about that. My family could relate to that and all that stuff. So couldn't get funding, and then one person, one guy, funded the whole thing because he really believed in it, and he was like a saint, to be honest, and didn't get involved in the making of, like, was like, not, I wanted to be like, no, not like, he just said, do what you want to do. And that person has become a real dear friend of mine now, to be honest. And I have a lot of time for him. And he's a very proud Irishman as well.
how long did it take that filming? You sent me the link, and I've actually watched the film, but it's not due out in the UK just yet, is it? In England?
No, it's in it's there. It's in Britain in June 25th. It'll be on loads of recognisable platforms.
Right.
But we have the Irish rights, and in Ireland it's only on morphed.tv, which you can get on Google, or click the link in my bio on Instagram or TikTok.
But
so for any Irish viewers,
put the links in this video so people can click on that.
Brilliant. Appreciate that, Ricky. So that's for our Irish viewers. But for anybody outside of Ireland, man, like my TikTok has blew up in the last week or so. It's mad. Like I think I've gotten like 15,000 followers in the last 5 days, and a lot of people are from England and Scotland and Wales, and they want to watch the film. So I'm going to keep them notified because that'll be out again the 25th. They'll be able to watch it. So yeah, we made the film, man. It took us. We made it the first shoot in about 15 days, and then we had to go back and reshoot and do 50 scenes in 3 days on very, very, very micro budget. And then we sent it to Oldenburg Film Festival, one of the biggest film festivals in the world, who has a great relationship with the Hollywood Reporter, and they accepted us. And not only did they accept us, we went over there and we won Best Film. and our lead actor won Best Actor, and we got rave reviews from the Hollywood Reporter and Screen Daily and Film Verdict, like, and it just blew us away. And then we went to a film festival called Dances with Films in Hollywood Boulevard. You know, and the festival said that it was the best film that one of the festival people said it was the best film they ever had in their whole history, in the 30 years history. And then, you know, we go back to Ireland and no one wants to talk about it because it's showing all the ugliness of Irish society and its institutions and how the institutions protected the power of how the state protected the power of its institutions over the interests of its people. And obviously it's set in a gangland setting, and there's that element, but there's also an element of crime from the state, you know. And to me, they're the bigger crimes. Because to me, the lads in the tracksuits that are doing a bit of this or that and the other to survive are not the real criminals. They're not the ones we need to really, really worry about, the people on the street. The ones we have to worry about is the state, the ones with the uniforms, the ones in suits. So the film was turned down from the funded state, told it was too dark, turned down from 3 times from multiple different Irish funders, too dark, and it's the wrong film for you to direct, John, and blah, 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 blah. Then the festival circuit in Ireland completely shunned us. Then the media PR, we got a PR company and paid the money, and the media ignored it. Imagine the media picked up on some of the stuff I said. It's the Sunday World in Ireland, which is a rag, right? A fucking shitbox of a newspaper. They took some of the stuff I did in an interview from the Hollywood Reporter, and it was all about the film, the Black Guelph, and my directorial debut and how it won. And all they did was took all the stuff where I said the state were at war with travellers and made a whole article about it and didn't mention it came from the Hollywood Reporter or I have a new film or anything like that. Absolutely. And this sort of ignorance in the media has been going on the whole time. So and loads of other stuff. Distributors backing out who wanted to bring it to the cinema. Then the cinema wanted 80% of the film and all this. So we decided to release it on morph.tv. Which is our own platform, and we're trying to get some money back, especially for the investor. I got $2.5 for working on it for basically 4 years, 2 years solid, but 4 years scattered. I got $2.5 for co-writing it, acting, and directing it. Like I'm really well known in Ireland, especially in the gangster genre. I mean, for acting alone in a gangster film, I get an awful lot more than that. Never mind directing and everything that goes, and 18 months of editing and all that, and co-writing. And I still haven't seen a penny of this and probably won't, because the film has to make like all its money before I see a penny on the back end, which I'm confident I will one day. But what's more important for me is that people watch it, because it's a very important film that I think can make people wake up a bit, and not just people in Ireland. I mean, similar themes in Britain as well, and the sort of class system.
That's what I was going to mention.
It goes on, and how people like yourself, Ricky, people from our backgrounds who are demonized. You know, I think there's an awful lot for people in Britain and working class people really anywhere in the world that they can relate to, you know.
But like obviously people over here watching the film, when I've watched it myself, can relate to it. Similar things have happened, but it used to happen over here in the detention centres and the Borsals. The young lads weren't getting looked after properly by the people that were supposed to be looking after them. And then in later life, it's had that effect on them. And it's the ripple effect that they've passed on to their kids, never look after them properly. Lifelong history of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and it's just one vicious cycle, and it's just causing nothing but problems.
Yeah, you know, there's a great British film. I'm a big fan of British film, Ricky, particularly like a social realist films from the likes of Alan Clark, who did a film called Scum. I don't know if you've seen that film, Scum, with Ray Winstone, and that reminds me of what you were saying. He also did Made in Britain, you know, and then there's Ken Loach. I love Ken Loach. Who did Daniel Blake, you know, and so I'm a big fan of those filmmakers. But Scum, that was one about, that was an intensive center, and that was like a hard-hitting film, showed that harsh reality, and it was like fucking mind blowing, you know. But you know, there's one version or another of that in every country, and it's the people at the so-called bottom, you know, that are the ones who experience that sort of trauma. You know, we really have to become aware of our own traumas, I think, so that we don't repeat history and we can actually break that cycle. because it's so fucking easy to just have tunnel vision and
Yeah.
just go down the one route. It's so easy. You know, most people do not deviate from the route you're going. So you kind of have to realize that there's a life script written about you, you by your environment and
Yeah.
the people who led you in your environment, whether it be your mother, your father, friends, whatever. You know, they're writing your script, and you have to realize there is a script, and then you have to rip the script up. That's what I think.
That's it. You've got to overcome adversity, and you've got to change the
Yeah,
things around you, haven't you? Obviously, I've done it myself, coming out of prison, having to change my life and change my mindset, get out of that negative mindset that I used to be in. And you can get forward in life and have a better life if you just overcome that adversity.
yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I mean, and look, when you do, you become a way stronger person for it. Like, I lost my mother, Ricky, there last August, and like I lost a lot of people in my life that really hurt. And but this one hurt and hurts in a way that it's unbearable at times. And if it were not for a few different things, you know, the good family of the two best brothers that you could ever ask for, and we will die beside each other. We will die for each other. No problem. I'll give my life for my brothers in a heartbeat, and they'll do it for me. And believe me, Ricky, we proved that to each other in the past. So I'm lucky I have that. I'm lucky I have a good wider family. I'm still living here in the campsite, and I'm lucky I have all that structure. But I'm also lucky that I know I believe in God. I do believe in God. I've had mad spiritual signs from my mother, and that has helped me a lot. And I know that her father is looking after her, and that my father is looking after her. But also because I went through so much of my life, I built up a tolerance. A tolerance for pain and trauma, and I know how to address it more. And I suppose if I didn't have that, and then bang, I just had my mother dying, I don't know what the fuck I would do. You know, like I had the good sense about me. Like I'm Irish, so when someone in your family dies, you start drinking. Well, I did 2 weeks of that, and then I had the good sense of going fuck drink now, and I went 12 weeks off the drink so that I could process the death more. So so overcoming trauma. The thing about it, my friend Tiernan Williams, he's, as I said, he's an integrative psychotherapist, cognitive psychologist. He said something so profound to me. He said, John, he said, the falls that you have in life, because he helped me get out of this dark hole again. He did it a few times. And he said, the falls that you have in life where you fall and you fall hard. I said, yeah. He said, the thing is, he said, the more you fall, the better you come at climbing. And I was like, wow, yeah, that makes sense. So when you're used to that and you can keep going, you go, right, I got back there before. I'll do it again. And I'll do it quicker this time. So that's the thing, man. You become a better climber from the trauma, and I become a good climber as of you. It's see that in you.
I can understand, like you're saying, exactly where you come from because obviously I went to prison when I was 20, seeing there loads of stuff when I was younger. And I spent just over 5 years in prison, got out when I was 25, obviously changed my mindset. And I was out of prison for 9 years, married, 4 kids, everything going well in my life. But then my best friend committed suicide. I actually found him hanging. I had to cut him down, tried to bring him back, couldn't bring him back. And then my wife Sandy done it a year later. She committed suicide. Then another one of my best friends. And again, like you mentioned, you just turn to drink, your head going down, negative mindset. Ended up going back to prison because I was on life license. Went back to prison when I was 35, been out nearly 10 years. But again, prison sorted me out. I had time to sit by myself, think about it. This time I had a wife and 4 kids outside. And that was the hardest thing, being in prison, having that outside. Knowing I had everything there, but it was my mindset that got us in that position. But obviously I've come out,
Mm.
changed my mindset, dealt with these suicides. And like you say, when things happen now, you can deal with it more, can't you? Deal with it.
Yeah, man. You see, well, unfortunately, you have to go to prison, but I mean, you're able to then process it, man. Because I suppose the thing is, it's like for me, the analogy I use is like you're running away and somebody's chasing you. You know, uh, somebody's chasing you, but then you run out of steam and they catch up and they fucking get you.
Yeah.
Whereas all you have to do is turn around and have a conversation with that person. You know, that person is yourself. And we don't want to face ourselves. We don't want to face our fears. We don't want to face the hurt. We want to bury it. You know, and I'm still doing it now as a defense mechanism with my mother. When a wave of hurt hits me, I'm like, oh, just park it aside for now, park it aside, you know? And then I tell myself, stop, just fucking feel it, let it come over you. So you're struggling, you know, because I know if I do bury it and I let it build up, you know, so let it clog up, it's going to come back to you. Just hit me, you know? So yeah, you do build more resilience and you learn little tricks of the trade with your mind along the way. And, you know, as you know, Ricky, I'm sure you can see you're a fucking well built, shaped man. You know, exercise is fucking key. You
Oh,
know, like exercise is great. Whether you lift weights or hit a bag or I mean, there's really nothing better for your mental health, in my opinion. I think I think training is better than going to therapy. That's what I truly believe. And you know what? There's a lot of science backing that up now, actually, because if you get a good action, your actions control your thoughts, and your thoughts control your emotions. So, good exercise action, you're controlling your thoughts, and then you control your emotions. You know, so
well,
you learn these little tricks along the way.
when I was locked up, obviously I got locked up during COVID, so it was 23-hour bang up. But sometimes you weren't getting out for 35 hours, like for exercise. And for 6 months, I'd done body weight circuits every day. And I wrote a book in prison called Behind the Bars Ruthless Fitness. It's been getting sold worldwide in all the prisons and that. I'll send you a copy of it. And it's
Amazing. Yeah.
all about physical and mental fitness training. Teaches you how to get fit physically, but how to train your mind to become fitter as well. And obviously, when I've
Right.
got that ruthless fitness as well out to my gym, I've got my own gym now. I'm helping loads of.
Brilliant.
I've got a mental health group that I do free of charge for men over the age of 18. I sit and talk with people, but it all comes in with me book and the prison. So prison for me has actually worked, you know.
Fucking hell, man. It's actually rehabilitated you.
Definitely, I sorted us right out.
That's fucking amazing, bro. You're doing amazing things, man. Fair fucking play.
But I've seen that you've actually been going into prison yourself, haven't you? Or you've been into Mountjoy prison, talking with teaching.
Yeah,
Talking lads.
yeah. I was in Mountjoy a few times. I went in. I went in one day to do a talk. I'm going to. I'm going back there now on the 15th to do a 5K run in the yard with the prisoners, and because I'm very. I don't know what it is, but I'm very popular in prisons among prison populations. Uh, I think it's the movies I do and the way I speak, you know, and a lot of them know my history. You know, I'm going into Mountjoy the 15 and I'm going to Wheatfield soon as well. But I went in the first time I went in and I said, yeah, I said, but one condition, you better allow my friend to come. Because my friend Stephen Clinch, who was in Carver Gangsters and Love Hate and loads of stuff, he died 2 years ago. He was a dear friend of mine, God help him. He was an actor and he was like a Ray Winstone type actor, you know, mad as well. And like he did 23 years in prison and learned to act in Mountjoy and like a mad life and did bank robberies in England and Ireland. He was one of my best mates that I've ever had. He died got up a couple of years ago, but when they asked me to go to Mountjoy the first time, he was locked up again after doing all these acting gigs and Love Hate and Gary. He got locked up again for uh it was he did a robbery basically, yeah. And I said, yeah, I'll go in as long as he's allowed to come to class. So he was allowed to come to the class, and we did a bit of acting together. And he, this fella came up. I was slagging them all, you know, because normally people who go into prison, they're afraid, you know, and I was just there slagging the bollocks out of them. They're all laughing. But I kept slagging this one guy, one fella, and no one would laugh. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? So when the class was up, I really came in to do a talk, but everybody was interested in acting, so I just did an impromptu acting class. But when the class is up, the psychotherapist came over to me. You know who you were slagging, and I was like, who? She said, "That's I can't say really." But
Oh,
basically, one of I'll tell you anyway. But he's one of Ireland's most notorious criminals, and he was lovely. And then I went back in to with Carver Gangsters and I screened it, and he warned everybody, "Shut the fuck up, what's this?" And it was deadly because you know one of my favorite albums is the Johnny Cash album, where he went and did his full gig music in the prison. in Folsom Prison. So to me, it was a bit of a Johnny Cash thing bringing my film in, you know. And there was like, you know, people who were gangsters and murderers and robbers, and they were like, every one of them said this the most realistic portrayal of Dublin gangland culture. So that was nice, you know.
But like you say, when you went and had that bit banter with the prisoners, obviously when you're in prison, that's how you get on with your time, having a bit banter with each other, winding each other up. So obviously when you've come in, they'll have been buzzing off you.
Yeah, exactly. It's mad. It's mad, but listen, I'm looking forward to going in again. Like, I'm not even able to do 5K, man. I'm absolutely bollocks. I don't run at all. And I've only gotten back into doing a bit of hitting the bag, but they're going to be slagging the bollocks out of me because I'm going to be that fucking slow, but fuck it, I'll do it.
I've done a couple of videos on prisoners that have actually been in Mountjoy prison, and I've talked about the prison and stuff. So I've done a bit of history on it, researched it, but obviously some of the most notorious gangsters in Ireland are in that prison, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, and it's all kind of like it's probably like the same in your place. It's like so there'll be like there's the areas that have the most most criminals. They have their own wings, so there'll be a wing that's Kulak wing, you know, that's Ballymun wing, you know,
Right.
that's Drimna, the south side. So they're all like because these are all the main areas. So yeah, it's like that. So if you get on a landing, like you'll be straight away, you know, someone from Kulak, what's up, man? Oh, you need down, you need this, you need that. Here, come over here. Do you want some rollies? Do you want a fag, blah, blah, or whatever? So they look after their own. But then if you land there and you're not from any area, you're fucked. Basically, you need to be going on protection. So that's basically the way it works here. Yeah?
So what's happening in your life now then, John? Obviously, you'll be promoting the film everywhere and getting it advertised. What else is there? What's in the pipeline for you now and what's happening now?
So it's funny enough, man. I'll get into it now. So we're trying to promote this film, The Black Guelph, and you know, that's happening. And then after Jim Sheridan film coming out and Crazy Love coming out, so it's all going good. But we're also in uh, pre-production for a prison film called Wolf Cub, and it's going to be directed by Kevin Tracy and Jason Byrne, who directed Crazy Love. And we've some of the financing already. We still have to get more of the financing. So, you know, if there are any financiers out there, get in touch. But we're going to get it. It'll be grand. So, yeah, we want to do a prison film. I don't know if you've ever seen the French film A Prophet.
I don't think I've seen that, no.
So, listen, bro, you have to see it. It's a prison film. It's
Right.
the greatest prison film ever made. It's one of the greatest films ever made. Like one critic called it Goodfellas, Godfather, and Scarface all combined, right? It's called. I'll send you the trailer of it, right? It's in the WhatsApp, yeah. So you watch it. So we want to make something at that level, but in Ireland,
Right, so hi.
and so we're in pre-production for that now. That's why I'm back in training because I need to become a beast for this, you know. Because I'm playing a fella that's kind of semi-based on a real life person, and so yeah, so we're in pre-production of that. So I'm working towards that now. Hopefully, going to make that this year. Hopefully November, and then have a few big festivals that the other films are going to be premiering at. Crazy Love and one or two others. So yeah, man, that's basically what I'm at now. And yeah, just day by day, bro, trying to get the black belt out there and as much people as possible to share it because we're trying to start a little revolution, you know. And the
Well,
European and
sure.
local elections are on this week in Ireland as well. So hoping to see a bit of change and hoping to see some more independent voices get through there rather than the mainstream parties that are fucking us for years.
Well, I'll share it across all my social medias. In total, I've got like over 100,000 subscribers on my channels. So
Wow, wow. Geez, that'd be amazing, man. I really appreciate that.
if you send us the trailer on the WhatsApp, I'll share that as well.
Oh, I will, yeah, man. Oh, thank you, man. You're a diamond. Thanks very much, and thanks for reaching out as well, man. Dino spoke very highly of you as well, and he's a big fan too, you know. And I had a look at some of your stuff, man. It was like really high quality, great stuff. And fair play. You're an important voice, man. A working class fella like you who went through that drama, went to prison, came out the other side. I mean, genuinely, like you're, you know, like myself, you're a million to one shot. You know, we wasn't the horses anybody was betting on. You know, but we got the other side of it. But we also have to keep an eye on it too.
Oh, definitely. But if you ever get any parts for any English actors, give us a shout.
You know what? I was thinking, man. I was thinking, looking at you, going, you know what? If we put a fucking English character in there, you know, like, because you know, you could be an English character of Irish background, which is what you are, you know, and came back to Ireland, man. I'd definitely be interested in casting you. Would you be up for that?
I'll be up for it, definitely.
Because we could just call you English, you know, because you know something like that. Because you know, but I find northern people are so different than southern people, you know, in England.
Not easier
They're
to get on
just
with, not more laid back.
Irish people, northern people, and northern English people and Irish people are very alike, man. You know, and I think it's because we had such a big plantation there. You know, like you'd even say the word crack, you know, having the crack, wouldn't you?
Aye. The same,
Yeah, that's an Irish language word for meaning fun, you know. It's mad. I just think culturally we'd be a lot similar. So let's keep that conversation going. We're going to get Dino in the film as well, in the prison film as well, man. So, yeah, if you're interested, I'm sure we can make it happen.
Definitely, I'm up for that.
Sure, you listen, you've already done it all anyway. You know what I mean? You have the look, you have the history.
Yeah, nice one. But John, it's
Yeah.
been a pleasure having you on. Thank you for sharing your story. Like I see,
Thank you, bro.
a lot of people, especially all my viewers, all interested in the Irish side of it, the Irish crimes stories, about the prisons. Everyone will be loving
So
them.
before we go,
Yeah.
I want to say to people, because people are going to go, some Irishman, you have an orange, white, and green, the flag, when it should be green, but it's because my camera is flipped, so it has it the other side. Do you get me? So I set it up for green, white, and gold, but they flipped. I had to flip the camera, and I was like, and by the time that happened, I was looking at it going, and I'm half asleep going, fuck, we're already there. So anybody who was thinking I couldn't get my own flag right, just know that much.
Cameras reversed.
Cameras reversed, yeah.
Yes, John, I really
Yeah,
enjoyed
but yeah, thanks, man. Like, I really, really appreciate this, man, reaching out. Look, you have a huge platform, and I'm glad, you know, I'm glad we got on here because it was very hard for us to get on, you know, and get in mainstream media. And if this film's going to succeed, it's going to have to be embraced by platforms like yourself, you know. So I do appreciate it, man. And if I can ever return a favor, let me know.
Not a problem. But everyone watching, I'll put the links in the description if you want to go down, have a look at that. But thanks for coming on, John. Hopefully we'll do a part 2 sometime in the future.
Yeah, love that.
Take care, mate. Enjoy.
Thank you.